All right, now that you have worked with some Adobe Illustrator skills, you've had 5 different sessions kind of working your way up through different skills, and if we hop over here to good old courses drive and period 7 and assignments and Illustrator, you can see the things we've been doing. We've worked with shapes, made shapes, Pathfinder, text trick, stroke, fill, effect. Well, now in the next couple of days, and this is a 2-day thing, we're going to work on this logo project. So let me open this up, and one thing that's inside here right now is the project guide, and I'm going to go ahead and open this up and take a look at it with you real quickly. This is a 70-point project here, and the idea is to use Adobe Illustrator to create a logo for an existing business or organization, or you can make one up if you want to. And you can kind of take a logo that already is out there for a business and redesign it a little bit. I'll show you an example here in just a minute, but the idea is to create a logo for a company or a business using the things that you have learned in Adobe Illustrator. Now here are the requirements, and first of all, everything has to be created in Illustrator. This is not something where you go out on the internet and you pull in some kind of graphic or picture that already exists. That's not what I want. We're looking for making it from scratch, and one of the things that is required is styled text. All right, well that could be any of these things, and these are all things that we've kind of worked on. A couple of them I'm going to show you in this demo. 20 points of this assignment is having some styled text. It could be text on a path, it could be that 3D extrude and bevel, it could be warped, just at least changing the font and the color. This little trick of creating outlines and ungrouping, I'll show you here in a minute. Rotating it would work. Anything where you have styled the text a little bit. Multiple shapes, all right, more than one shape, 20 points of it for that. You can use the Pathfinder options like union and minus front and intersect and exclude to help. Duplicated shapes, that alt drag trick, or you can make groups, and that's something else that I'll show you here in just a minute. And any of those things would fit this requirement right here. Strokes, fills, and effects. All right, a colored stroke, a brush instead of the basic stroke, using some kind of brush, filling with gradients or patterns, using effects like pucker and bloat or roughen or twist or drop shadow or whatever. Those are all possibilities as far as including some strokes, fills, and effects in this project, and that's 20 points of the project as well. Effort is 10 points. It's got to look like you tried. You know, you can't just slap something together quick and say, okay, I'm done. You got to put a little work into it and put some effort in it. When you start this, and again I'll kind of show this, I'll demonstrate this a little bit, you'll have to click File and New and make a new artboard. And the one thing you'll have to decide is whether or not you want the artboard to go up and down or portrait or sideways, or that's landscape, and it doesn't really matter that much, but you can choose. When you are saving your work on this, save it on your network drive with the file name logo, and then make sure that the finished copy, when you're all done with it, you drag it and drop it into your turn-in folder on drive letter L. Now I'm going to hop over here to Illustrator and I'll show you mine. I decided to do kind of a logo design for NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, and this is just kind of, I looked at their logo that they have used for a long time and just kind of stole some ideas and kind of redesigned a little bit. And this is what I came up with. Now the things that are in here that would be, you know, like things off the required list. This part right here, I'll pull this over, this National Aeronautics and Space, that's text on a path. I put that type on a circle, and so that would be considered text on a path. You'll also see duplicated shapes here. The stars, I just made one star, and then I alt dragged to make multiple stars, so that's, you know, multiple shapes that I did there. I've got this globe that's in the background. The blue globe is filled with a gradient, so that's one of the things that was on that list of required, you know, one of those possibilities to meet a requirement. This rocket ship I did by using the Pathfinder. I created shapes and used the Unite feature to make that rocket ship. And I also grouped it together once it was all done. So that's a couple of things that were on that list of things that could help you meet the requirements. And then I've got some text in here that says NASA, and so that's how I made mine. Now there's a couple of things I've referred to here that we haven't really covered in the previous session. So I've got a new artboard here. I'm going to hop over here and show you these. One of the things that you might want to do is when you're working with text, and I can just, I'll use Nike as an example. Okay, I'm going to use the type tool and put on Nike, take the black arrow, size this up, and I'm going to make it a bolder font. I think I'll just do Arial black, and that makes it a nice big bold font like that. Okay. Now, here's a trick that can be kind of useful. With this type selected, I'm going to go up to the Type menu, and I'm going to do what's called Create Outlines. Now, this is no longer really, it's not really text. I can't edit this with the text tool anymore. This is just 4 shapes, and they happen to be shaped like an N, an I, and a K, and an E. Now, the next thing I'm going to do here to this that could be useful in designing a logo is I'm going to right-click it, and I'm going to ungroup it. Now what happens is each one of these letters, or these shapes, are not really text letters anymore, but each one of them is a separate object and could be arranged any way you want. So I have each one of these letters separately that I can kind of move around and put them wherever I want to. Plus, if I come over here and click on the fill box and go get my swatches panel and, for example, get a set of gradients here, I'll open Swatch Library and Gradients, and I'll just get some I don't know, I'll get some color combinations here. All right, and these aren't going to be great combinations, but I want to show you what you can fill these. If you've done this create outlines thing, you can fill these with gradients if you wish. All right, you can't do that if you haven't done that create outlines trick, and I could add a stroke on that if I wanted to, and you see the idea. So again, that trick was by, I take the type tool and I put the type I want on there, and I make it larger with my black arrow, and then I go to the type menu, create outlines, and that makes it 4 separate shapes, but these shapes are all grouped together. So I can right click and ungroup, and then I can pull those apart and do whatever I want with those, including fill them with gradients and all kinds of cool things. All right, so that's a trick that could be helpful. Now also, and I'm going to get rid of these, the idea of grouping could be helpful as well. Even if it's just like you're making some kind of, I don't know, gosh, even if it's just like a face or something. All right, I'll fill that with black, and I'm going to do a quick idea here to show you what grouping does for you. All right, let me lay these. This would be like eyes on this face, and this is just kind of a silly example, but all right, there we go. So I've created this little smiley face, and let's say that you're doing something for a logo that has several parts to it, and you want to kind of work with this, you want to kind of move it around. Well, you can run into this situation where you move part of it and the rest of it doesn't move, and so this idea of grouping, I'm going to undo that. This idea of grouping can help that situation. If I select all of that, it's got 4 parts to it, so if I select all of it and go to the object menu, and there's this choice right here for group, it's Control-G on the keyboard. If I group that together, that means those pieces, the eyes, the mouth, the head, they aren't going to come apart. As long as they're grouped, they're not going to come apart. And I could size it down and move it around, and it's like I say, it's a group. It's going to stay together, and that could be a useful thing for you as you're trying to build something in a logo. All right, so really that's it, folks. I might undo. It's not going to let me undo those. Yeah, it is. All right, that's what mine looks like. And the other thing that could be helpful for you here is if you hop out on the internet and you do a Google search and you just go for you could look for company logos, and you want to do an image search, and get some inspiration. Look at some of the logos that are a part of companies that, look at Mercedes-Benz and Old Navy, and for this project, I don't want you to pick something that's so easy it's just ridiculously easy, but also I don't want you to try and pick something that's so hard you just can't do it. But you look at these things that people design, and Adobe Illustrator is exactly how they do it. They use illustration programs to do it. And you could look up car logos. I could try that. What if I did car logos, and we did images there, and I click on one of those, and so you see like the Cooper Mini logo and the Nissan logo and the the Mercedes-Benz logo, the BMW logo, and some of them are kind of hard, and you might, but the design that you make doesn't have to be exactly like the logo of the company. It could just kind of be based on, or you can redesign it, make it something new if you want to. So that's the project. You got a couple of days to work on it. All right, and you're working on designing some kind of logo, and the guide is in Drive L there. Right there, the project guide is in Drive L. If you need to double click that and pull it up so that you can see it, you certainly can do that. That's it. Project is set. Rock and roll.